Hello my friends, welcome back to Garhdo Goes Geek. I'm just wanted to do a little update for everyone today because obviously I've been away for some time. It's been a while since I've uploaded a new episode. Even on YouTube, the last thing I uploaded was a video of my Twitch stream rather than an actual episode of content. So I wanted to sort of get into it and explain what's happening. I do also have a blog now, which I've been using to update people, so I will link to that in my link tree as well, so if anyone wants to go there and learn more about it, they can. Basically, there's three different issues that seem to be a factor at the minute. The first, and perhaps the most important one, is that while I have no intention of stopping the podcast anytime soon, I love the podcast. I love being able to talk about things and engage with everyone out there. I am kind of in a transitionary phase for a multitude of reasons, and the first and most obvious is due to a confluence of issues. I seem to be currently in the middle of the worst mental health episode I've ever had. Now, if you've been following me or my podcast for a long time, you know how much I've struggled with my mental health. I've spoken about it before. I'm relatively transparent about my struggles with mental health because I do think it's important to be. As someone who does struggle with it, the idea of being able to see other people that I follow be open about their health is something I wish I would have had, especially when I was a lot younger. You know, it's something quite important, I think, is being able to have positive representation of bad mental health, bad mental wellness, mental unwellness, if you will. And while I don't want people to worry about me, I am currently seeking help for the issues that I'm facing, but I'm currently getting therapy for childhood PTSD, and so PTSD as a result of childhood trauma, and I expect it's probably going to be a pretty long road to recovery. Like, I've got a course at the minute of 12 therapy sessions. I've had 5, so it's still at least another 7 weeks, I think, before I'm going to be seeing any major changes. Now, the podcast has always been like a real positive activity for me to put effort into during times of low mental health, but I'm struggling with motivation due to low mood. Like, the amount of times I've sat down recently with the intent to record things and not had the effort, the inclination, the actual mental fortitude to actually get started. It's hard, and it's really discouraging when it's like, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to, I want to sit, I want to create, and not just the podcast. Like, I've got models I want to paint, I've got plenty of stuff I want to do, and I can't bring myself to do it, and it's damn hard. So yeah, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, as I've spoken about before, I plan my podcast quite far in advance. Like, because it is one of those elements of positive mental health for me, I do tend to plan things. I get excited about it. I get excited about the ideas I have and the things I want to discuss, the things I want to watch, the things I want to share with you guys. And that means I've got ideas going right up into like 2026 of like when major franchise anniversaries are happening and like things I might want to cover to tie in with those. But then I've also got like a long list of things that I would like to view and cover at some point anyway. And it's the podcast was something I've always been excited for. I wanted to use it to clear things from my watch list, so I planned things in advance. But I already put a hold on some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about last year as a result of the SAG-AFTRA and Writers Guild of America strikes, because I didn't feel right talking about struck content, especially with the fact that most of what I talk about is older stuff, and a lot of the arguments, the reasons for the strikes were things like residuals, you know. So it didn't feel right encouraging people, oh, go watch this old show, you know, at a time when that work is technically being struck. So, you know. And I did return to the suspended content once that was over, but obviously by that point it's pushed back a lot of my plans, which then creates a knock-on effect as, you know, catching up on that stuff pushes back more stuff and so on. So I'm trying to work through and prioritise the episodes I want to get ready within the best time frame, but obviously that's still hard, it still has its problems. And then finally, the last major issue that I seem to be having is the host website that I use to record and edit my podcast has recently changed its recording software, and it's retired what it had currently available, what it had available, sorry, and has replaced it with completely new software. And I tried the new recording tools, and I'm not a fan of them. There's a lot of things that I have made sort of staples of my podcast and how I approach my podcast, which I no longer have access to, from audio clips to the way of compositing it, the way of merging different sound files, even the sound editor. It's all changed, and it means that I can't really provide what I used to the same quality immediately. And I'm worried that elements of my podcast are going to inevitably change one way or the other, because I'm going to have to find like a new host or new recording tools or do my own editing or whatever. And I'm quite proud of like the consistent tone that my podcast has. You know, the formatting, the music cues, the video cards, etc., creates a very unified product. Like when I started the new backgrounds, I went back and redid all my previous episodes for YouTube to unify the backgrounds so they all look the same. And I'm going to be doing some more editing for the thumbnails based on another new change that I've discovered. So I want to try and create a unified product, something that looks good and solid and consistent. And even though the changes that will be coming as I'm trying to find my own way around it will probably be for the better, it's true that things might change going forward. And that's hard. Like even this that I'm recording now, I'm recording using a sound editor, a sound recorder on my PC, still with my microphone, but a sound recorder. So I'm going to have to, you know, if there's any edits in this, any audio cues, I'm not sure if there will be yet, they're all going to be done by me for the first time. This is going to be kind of like my test bed thing. And so, yeah, that makes changes, it makes things difficult. And so there's lots of content that I feel like I've promised over the past few months that I don't feel like I'm able to deliver on, or at least able to deliver on immediately. And I really, really want to. So now that I've explained sort of what has happened, let me give a bit more of a kind of state of play for the podcast, and like what my intentions are. And this has been covered on my blog, so if you have seen that, you won't be any new news to you. If you haven't, then, you know, please sit and enjoy, and we'll get to it in a second. So for me, the first and most immediate priority is completing the episodes I was working on, and the ones that I felt I have the clearest vision of what I want to say. And so for me, that currently amounts to the rest of my X-Men Comics retrospective, the episode looking at Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who run, an episode on Star Trek Picard, an episode on Jurassic Park, which I've been working on for some time, and that whole franchise, and an episode on Doom, as well as 2 episodes on the Star Wars franchise under Disney. One's going to be focusing more on the sequel trilogy, the spin-off movies, things like Andor, Kenobi. The other one's going to be focusing a lot more on the Dave Filoni produced content, so things like Rebels, Bad Batch, Mandalorian especially, and Ahsoka. So things that a lot of which I haven't seen, I'm not caught up on at all, so this is also my excuse to catch up on it. I'm also working on an episode to catch me up to the MCU, to review like all of the recent content that's come out over the last year. I don't think I've seen any of the content since Secret Invasion launched. So Secret Invasion, Echo, What If Season 2, The Marvels, Loki Season 2, even things like Madam Web. And possibly, if I can see it in time, maybe Deadpool and Wolverine. I want to try and just sit and discuss. I also want to review the Fallout television series, the X-Men 97 cartoon, which will probably be its own episode rather than lumped in with the rest of the Marvel stuff, and some other things that I've been looking to review, things like Star Trek Prodigy, which has just come out. Second season is fantastic, so I wanted to talk about that, and a few other things like that. And then obviously the other final big episode that I have there is the commission that I have for the Skibidi Toilet series, because that April Fool's Day joke backfired on me because someone was like, yeah, we want that. I'm like, okay, brilliant, let's do that then. I've started watching it. I've started watching my way through it, and not at the point of making notes yet, but it is bizarre. There's a lot to cover there. And then most of this is going to bring me a lot closer to my 100th episode, which is obviously my intent to sit with my partners, Tallulah and Zulu, and we're going to sit and look at the Cornetto trilogy. And, there's other changes going on at home, like Zulu's going to be moving in with me and Tallulah, and all the family, so we're all going to be together. That's going to create changes as well, and delays and all sorts of other stuff. But is a much more positive change than some of the other things that I spoke about earlier. So we're going to do the Cornetto trilogy, which is, for those who aren't aware of that term, it's the films Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, by Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, because I think they're great, and they're all very interesting parodies of different genres, and I just think they're masterful, so I wanted to talk about them, and I thought it would be a good one to do for the 100th, because we could sit down like we did with Red Dwarf and do like a little round table discussion between the three of us, so I thought that could be a lot of fun. So that's what's actively coming up. I don't want to overpromise beyond that. I also don't want to promise when all of it's going to arrive just yet. It's going to be when it's ready. It's the same as how I've been streaming on Twitch. I've done 3 streams for Half-Life 2. I want to go back to more, but I haven't had the energy to do it. And so, I want to get back to that as well. I want to do so much that's more positive than what I'm currently doing, and I'm just not quite there yet, and I really wish I was. So I felt I owed a lot of people an explanation. I know that I've posted shorts about this, I've posted a blog about this, but not everyone watches those things. So, and I've got some listeners who only listen to the audio podcast. I wanted to update because it's been a few months. So, that's where we stand. That's where I want to go from here. And I'm just working on it. I'm going to be doing what I can as best as I can, as soon as I can. So, things might take time, but I have plenty of stuff that I am excited to share with all of you, and I have plenty of stuff beyond the ones I've already promised that I'm also interested in working on, and again also looking forward to sharing with you guys. So yeah, that's where we are. That's the state of the podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing with me, for being patient, and just please look after yourselves as the very best you can, your physical, your mental health, as best you can. I can, if you want to discuss things with me, you can reach out to me, all the usual places. Go onto my link tree, there's a link to my Discord, there's a link to my Facebook page as well, if you wish to add me there. It's entirely fine. And obviously I've got the blog and Twitch and other things all linked in there as well. Yeah, I wish you all the best. I love you all. Until next time.